Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Uncivil Law. I simply cannot leave the President of the United States alone for any length of time. I go to the gym. He comes back. We have new exciting executive orders. Apparently, at least one relating to aviation. Okay. Let's read the new exciting executive orders. This should be fun.
Okay. Have a good angle?
I do, sir.
Thank you very much for seeing me twice today. It's going to be quite an important signing, so we thought we'd let you watch. If we could, I'd ask Will to explain the first, but really more importantly, explain the second, and we'll start signing. Go ahead, please.
Yes, sir. Just two items for your signature today. The first is the formal commission appointing Chris Rochelot to be the Deputy Administrator of the Federal Aviation Administration.
Right.
And since the commissioner position since the administrator position is currently vacant, he will act as the administrator since he's now been appointed deputy.
And he's a very capable guy.
Extremely experienced in aviation and highly regarded in the industry and in government.
Okay. So I guess for the moment, this is your problem, whoever you are.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Second, for your signature, we have a presidential memorandum titled Immediate Assessment of Aviation Safety. In light of the damage done to aviation safety by the Biden administration's DEI and woke policies, what this presidential memorandum orders is for your Secretary of Transportation and FAA Administrator, in this case acting FAA Administrator, to basically ensure that we are actively undoing all of that damage, that we are assessing how much damage was done, and that we're ensuring that people hired within the FAA, in keeping with your memorandum of January 21st, are only the most outstanding, capable people for the jobs that they are being hired into.
In other words, competence.
Yes, sir. Elevating competence over everything else instead of the DEI policies that were pursued.
You just gotta love it, people.
I think everyone understands
The
that.
crash wasn't even a day ago.
And Obama. Both of them.
Nice little
but
thing there.
Biden, much worse. Not even a contest. What they've done is just crazy in so many other ways. Okay?
Mr. President, to be clear, are you saying race or gender played a role in this tragedy?
It may have. I don't know. Incompetence might have played a role. We'll let you know that. But we want the most competent people. We don't care what race they are. We want the most competent people, especially in those positions. And you're talking about extremely complex things. And if they don't have a great brain, a great power of the brain, they're not going to be very good at what they do, and bad things will happen.
Mr. President, there's long been concerns about the amount of congestion out of DC Airport. Do you think that there's too many flights coming out of that airport?
No, I think we need very smart people running the flights and doing it. You know, the ones that aren't good, when they'll either do one of two things. They'll have too many coming in and they can't handle it, or they'll have the people waiting up in the air, which everyone's been caught in that situation, and circling the airports for an hour, and that's no good either.
Mr. President, are you aware?
Military helicopter training flights that are flying around National Airport all the time, what's your view? Should they be rolled back?
It's fine if they're in the right locations and if they're not at the same levels. I mean, if a plane coming in is at 300 feet or 400 feet and a helicopter's training at 300 or 400 feet, why wouldn't they be up 500 feet higher? So I certainly want, and that to a certain extent is the air traffic controller. Wait, please, wait just a second.
You feel like what happened last night was preventable?
I do, yeah. Oh, absolutely. And obviously,
I mean, it'd be hard
that's
not to be
something that
preventable, right?
Should not have happened. And we're not going to let it happen again. Yes, please.
Mr. President, on a slightly different subject, on your Canada and Mexico tariffs, will oil be included or excluded from those tariffs?
So we'll be announcing the tariffs on Canada and Mexico for a number of reasons. Number one is the people that have poured into our country so horribly and so much. Number two are the drugs, fentanyl, and everything else that have come into the country. And number three are the massive subsidies that we're giving to Canada and to Mexico in the form of deficits. And I'll be putting the tariff of 25% on Canada and separately 25% on Mexico. And we will really have to do that because we have very big deficits with those countries. Those tariffs may or may not rise with time.
It will be part of that, though, because we get oil from Canada.
Oil is going to have nothing to do with it as far as I'm concerned. Oil has nothing to do with it.
Mr. President, you said regarding Guantanamo Bay, you want 30,000 new beds there. Is there a possibility that will increase, or is 30,000 the
It could increase, yes.
What would be the maximum?
It depends, but countries that won't take back their criminals that they sent into us, you know, they sent them to us. They put them into the caravans, and they came in. As sure as you're standing there, they were sent by those countries. Then they're going to be met very harshly with sanctions.
Oh boy, people.
When are you hoping to have Guantanamo
30,000
Bay
people in Guantanamo?
It'll be up pretty quickly.
How much do you think it's going to cost?
Not very much. It's, a lot of the structure is already there, as you know.
Mr. President, you said that incompetence may have played a role. Are you aware of any performance issues or disciplinary actions that were taken against anyone who was working the tower last night or flying the plane?
No, and I hope that's not the case in this case, but certainly over the years it's been the case. And it's the case with respect to close calls, and it's the case with respect to circling for hours on end. You know, planes circle a lot, and they circle because the people bringing them down, these people that have to be very, very smart, and it's not based on anything other than the brain. We need the smartest people. We need both psychologically smart and just brilliant, period. And we are going to have them in our control towers. We are going to have the most competent people in the country in our control towers, not people that are there for any other reason.
Sir, you said that you envision sending the 80-something thousand IRS agents hired under Biden to the border. What role do you see them playing?
Well, we'll see. I mean, I may do that. Or
The
I may use
80,000
different people, but we're gonna
IRS
send more.
agents
We're
to
gonna
the
give
border?
Border Patrol some help. Although
We're gonna
now,
tax
if you
them to
look,
death?
They've taken in the lowest number since my administration. The numbers
That's
are
one
very
way to
low.
go.
And at that level, we don't need so much help. People know not to come because if they come, they're not going to make it in and they're going to be shipped out.
Egypt's president and the King of Jordan have both said that they won't take in displaced people from Gaza like you suggested. Is there anything you can do to make them do that? I mean, tariffs against those countries, for example?
They will do it. They will do it.
Okay. The King of Jordan says no, and he's like, yes, they will. All right, then.
Okay.
That
We
solves
go
that
after
problem
them,
right
and
up.
They're going to do it.
Mr. President, you've offered over 2 million federal workers the option to resign immediately.
Does Jordan have a king? I thought they had a
50,000
queen.
FAA employees. Does this tragedy give you reason to reconsider
Did the
that
government
option
change
of
in Jordan
resignation
at some
because of
point?
concerns about staffing issues,
No.
airline safety?
If people aren't coming to work, if they're not going to come into the office and report as per the date that you know what it is, everybody knows what the date is, it's been very well documented, then they're going to be terminated.
So you're not concerned though that if many people take that offer, there could be shortages that could lead to
Then they'll
safety
be
issues?
replaced with very competent people. We have a lot of competent people in this country.
Have you spoken to any?
They
of
both,
the
she got
families of
married?
victims?
Ah, that makes
I don't
sense.
want to comment on that.
Do you have a plan to go visit the site or meet with any of the
I have a
first
plan to
responders?
visit, not the site, because what did you tell me? What's the site? The water?
Or to meet with
Want
the
me to go
first
swimming?
responders down there?
I don't have a plan to do that, but I will be meeting with some people that were very badly hurt with their family member, obviously, but I'll be meeting with some of the families, yeah.
On birthright citizenship, sir, do you believe that there are 5 votes on the Supreme Court that would uphold your position?
One what?
5 votes on the Supreme Court.
What
that would-
position?
Birthright citizenship.
I think so, yeah. Look, birthright citizenship was, if you look back when this was passed and made, that was meant for the children of slaves. This was not meant for the whole world to come in and pile into the United States of America, everybody coming in and totally unqualified people with perhaps unqualified children. This wasn't meant for that. This was meant, when it was originally done, for the children of slaves. And that was a very good and noble thing to do, and I'm in favor of that 100%. But it wasn't meant for the entire world to occupy the United States.
So you don't see it requiring a constitutional amendment that would be,
I just think that we'll end up winning that court in the Supreme Court. I think we're going to win that case.
I don't know.
And
It's
I look
definitely more
forward to
complex
winning
than I
it. This
initially
has
gave it
been
credit
going-
for, that's for
we're
sure.
At that level, we're the only country in the world that does this. There's no other country at this level. There's no other country in the world that does it. It's crazy.
Mr. President, if 64 people lost their lives,
last night. If you aren't confident that DEI had any role, why bring it up?
Well, all I'm talking about is competence, and we want in that particular position, we have to have the most competent people in our country because we're talking about lives. Now, it may or may not have had to do, but I don't like the fact that the helicopter was at the exact same level as the airplane. The helicopter should have been 1,000 feet or 500 feet above it or something below it. The plane was at 300 to 400 feet, or the plane should have been stopped because the helicopter could have stopped. The plane can't be stopped, but the plane was on a schedule that was, it was along a track. They call it a track. And it's the same track that every other plane's used for many years. It was going down and landing.
Track, glide path,
And
1 to 2.
the helicopter got in its way. And if the helicopter was higher or lower or stopped or turning left or turning right at a quicker time, I mean, it turned, but it turned when it was too late. A tragic story. So I don't know, do you blame it on the air traffic controller too, in addition to the pilots? Maybe the pilot's fault, they should have seen it. I would have thought they should have seen it because it was a plane that was loaded up with lights and everybody.
I mean, if you're flying in an area of intense aerial activity, I would think, being visually aware would be really important.
Traffic controllers, it's a very important position, and other positions too, by the way. We're not only talking about that, we're talking, but air traffic controllers, maybe in particular, they have to be brilliant with computers, brilliant with graphics. They have to be psychologically really, really smart. And, there are a lot of people that wouldn't be able to do that.
We
Were there any signs of foul
about
play?
tariffs on Canada and Mexico, 25%. That's coming on Saturday.
That's coming on the 1st, Saturday.
But no oil tariff, no oil tariffs.
No, I don't, I didn't say that. You said that, no.
Well, I don't want to misinterpret.
No, we may or may not. We're going to make that determination probably tonight on oil. Yeah, because they send us oil, we'll see. It depends on what the price is. If the oil is properly priced, if they treat us properly, which they don't. Look, Mexico and Canada have never been good to us on trade. They've treated us very unfairly on trade. And we will be able to make that up very quickly because we don't need the products that they have. We have all the oil you need. We have all the trees you need, meaning the lumber. We have more than almost anybody in those two categories. In oil, we have more than anybody, and we don't need anybody's trees. We have to free up some of the tree areas that we have. We have great lumber in this country. We have to free them up environmentally, which I can do very quickly. But we don't need what they have. And for us to be subsidizing Canada to the tune of $175 billion a year and subsidizing Mexico to the tune of $250 billion, $300 billion a year. And Mexico is a method of China sending in its product. And with China, I'm also thinking about something because they're sending fentanyl into our country. And because of that, they're causing us hundreds of thousands of deaths. So China is going to end up paying a tariff also for that. And we're in the process of doing that. We'll make that determination what it's going to be. But China has to stop sending fentanyl into our country and killing our people.
Mr. President, Israeli media has reported that conversations between Netanyahu's government and the White House have signaled that the U.S. may be about to pull its troops out of Syria. Have you made a decision to...
I don't know who said that. I mean, I don't know who said that, but we'll make a determination on that. We're not involved in Syria. Syria's its own mess. They got enough messes over there. They don't need us involved in every one.
Mr. President, was there a shortage of staff at the control tower at DCA last night you're aware of?
Well, that's part of competence right there. They shouldn't have that happen. Right there is what I'm talking about. Competence would be you're not going to have a shortage, but if you had the right people, you wouldn't need as many people either.
Do you know if there was a shortage last night or not? Or
I don't know. No, I don't know. You're telling me something.
Mr. President, you said earlier today that you had not spoken to Putin about this. When was the last time that you spoke with him, and has President Xi responded to your ask to help put pressure to end the war in Ukraine?
I won't comment on either of them, but we're doing very well with regard to both.
There are some reports that Xi might ask of you in order to give that help, pressure to disavow potential Taiwan independence. Is that something that you would ever do?
We never discussed it.
You had said earlier that we would get more details about the victims on the plane. Can you give more on that now?
I have a lot of details, but it's something that'll be released to you also at the appropriate time. No, I have the full details.
There were a lot of young people potentially?
Young people, great athletes, great skaters. Very sad situation from numerous countries. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Okay. That's pretty interesting. So let's take a look at this new executive order he signed with respect to air and see what he actually wrote. Take a quick look at this. All right, let's see. News. Okay. Yeah. What is today? 30th? Okay. All right, so here it is. All right, let's take a look at this thing. Presidential action immediate assessment of aviation safety signed today. Memorandum for the Secretary of Transportation, the Administrator of the Federal Aviation Administration. On January 29th, 2025, a commercial aircraft, military aircraft, horrifically collided near the Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport. American families today woke up without their loved ones after what should have been a routine trip, and the entire nation mourns the loss of victims. This shocking event follows problematic and likely illegal decisions. Spiciness starts in the second paragraph. We're not wasting time. During the Obama and Biden administration that minimizes merit and competence in the Federal Aviation Administration. We made it to the third sentence, people. We made it all the way to the third sentence, man. Oh God. Oh Lord. The Obama administration implemented a biographical questionnaire at the FAA to shift the hiring focus away from objective aptitude. During my first term, my administration raised standards to achieve the highest standards of safety and excellence. But the Biden administration egregiously rejected merit-based hiring, requiring all executive departments and agencies to implement dangerous diversity and equity inclusion tactics, and specifically recruiting individuals with severe intellectual disabilities in the FAA. Holy shit. On my second day of office, I ordered an immediate return to merit-based recruitment, hiring, and promotion, elevating safety and ability as paramount standard. Yesterday's devastating accident tragically underscores the need to elevate safety and competence as a priority of the FAA. Consistent with the presidential memorandum of January 21st, 2025, I am further ordering the Secretary of Transportation and the Minister of the Federal Aviation Administration to review all hiring decisions and changes to safety protocols made during the prior 4 years and take such corrective action as necessary to achieve uncompromised aviation safety, including the replacement of any individuals who do not meet qualification standards. This review shall include a systematic assessment of any deterioration in hiring standards and aviation safety standards and protocols during the Biden administration. He's at the ball. It's great. Consistent with the presidential memorandum of January 21st, 2025, the Secretary and the Administrator shall take all actions necessary to reverse concerning safety and personnel trends during the prior 4 years, instill an unwavering commitment to aviation safety, and ensure all Americans fly with peace of mind. Wow. I mean, you gotta love the language. You just gotta love the forceful nature of the thing. And you just gotta love that he's like calling out the Biden administration in such overt language, right? Normally, this would be the kind of thing that would be done behind the scenes, but Trump doesn't really believe in behind the scenes. It would have even been done behind the scenes in Trump's first administration, right? I mean, Trump didn't really do this much overtly in the first administration, but he's like, I'm just doing everything in the clear open and just calling everyone out, man. It's like I'm not so much just I'm basically sending email as presidential memorandums in the open. One thing you can't fault him for is transparency, man. One thing you can't fault him for is transparency. He is telling you exactly what he thinks, clearly on the public record, with a press conference in the Oval Office. He's like, here's exactly what I'm doing. What questions do you have? And then he answers the questions. You may not like the answers, but he's answering the questions. So, I mean, you gotta kind of respect that on some level. It's just, it is very, very in your face with an attention to the prior administration, which of course didn't do press conferences for anything. And even the first Trump administration didn't do anything like this. Yeah, not mincing words indeed. This is great. So just basically reinforcing what he said and basically saying to, do better. I'll refer back to his, because he refers back to a prior EO from the 21st. Let me see if I can find that copy real fast. And I think he said it was the 21st. So let me see if I can find that copy real fast. Too many things, man. Too many things. We're going to need it sorted by calendar date or something, I swear. All right, yeah, here's his prior memorandum. So he wrote this on January 21st, keeping Americans safe in aviation. So he's like, I'm just echoing it. So here's what he said 9 days ago. Every day, the Federal Aviation Administration within the U.S. Department of Transportation oversees safety for more than 45,000 flights and 2.9 million airline passengers. These Americans trust the FAA's public servants with their lives, and it's therefore imperative they maintain a commitment to excellence and efficiency. During the prior administration, however, FAA betrayed its mission by elevating dangerous discrimination over excellence. I mean, so he's basically just echoing what he said 9 days ago. He's like, I already said this 9 days ago. I specifically called out, specifically the FAA, 9 days ago and said, you guys in particular are a problem. And it's like, yeah, here's what I said 9 days ago. I'm like, I told you. I mean, this is the quickest I told you so, probably in the history of ever, man. I mean, holy shit. During the prior administration, however, the FAA betrayed its mission by elevating dangerous discrimination over excellence. For example, prior to my inauguration, the FAA Diversity and Inclusion website revealed the prior administration sought to specifically recruit and hire individuals with severe infirmities that could impact the execution of their life-saving duties. He's like, I said this 9 days ago. I'm like, there's a problem. Illegal and discriminatory diversity, equity, and inclusion hiring, including on the basis of race, sex, disability, or any other criteria other than safety of the airline passengers and overall job excellence, competency and qualifications, harms all Americans who deserve to fly with competence. It also penalizes hardworking Americans who want to serve in the FAA but are unable to do so as they lack a requisite disability or skin color. FAA employees must hold the qualifications and have the ability to perform their jobs to the highest possible standards of excellence. I hereby order the Secretary of Transportation and the Federal Aviation Administration to immediately return to non-discriminatory merit-based hiring as required by law. All so-called DEI initiatives, including all dangerous preferencing policies or practices, shall immediately be rescinded in favor of hiring, promoting, and otherwise treating employees on the basis of individual capability, competence, achievement, and dedication. The Secretary of Transportation and the Federal Aviation Administrator shall review the past performance and performance standards of all individuals in critical safety positions and take all appropriate actions to ensure that any individual who fails or has failed to demonstrate requisite capabilities is replaced by a high capability individual that will ensure top-notch air efficiency. So, like, on some level, there's kind of nothing new, except the new memorandum basically is like, I told you so. And also, I want you to make sure that you read my prior memo to start firing some people. I want you to make sure that you understood my prior memo is to start firing people. I mean, he did obviously write memorandums relating to DEI in general. So he wrote a memorandum basically to end illegal discrimination and restoring merit-based opportunity. So he wrote this memorandum in general on the same day. But then he called out the FAA specifically. And he's like, and then there's a crash 9 days later. And he's like, well, maybe it's because of some of these issues, they're not sending their best. So I don't know, man. I don't know. There's still a lot to be determined here. It's a lot to be determined with whether or not it was the pilot's fault, whether or not it was the helicopter pilot's fault, whether or not it was the controller's fault, or the FAA's fault or some other unknown party's fault. For example, maybe someone was trying to dodge a drone or something, mechanical failure, weather-related failure. It's like, we don't know exactly what happened, but it's like, well, they're not necessarily sending their best, and this is a mission critical job. So, he's not hiding the ball, and he's taking leadership, and he's taking bold action. He's taking bold action to solve what he thinks might be at the part of the problem. And it's like, he's not waiting for the review, which to some degree I like. It's like, we don't know whether or not failures at the FAA or failures at the control center for the airports or the tower or other air traffic authorities. We don't know whether or not any of those things were the problem yet, but it's like, well, we still want to make sure that we have really high standards. And if people aren't cutting the mustard, they need to go because it's too mission critical. So it's like, well, whether or not it's the problem or not, it's like, this still needs to be solved. And it's something that I know can be a problem, and it's something I can attack right now. And it's like, I've got the impetus to do it. So I appreciate, all in doing all those things. Mr. T became a member for 8 months, and Bell Feinstein says, were helicopter pilots using night vision? Unclear. Is so field of view is reduced. And Ben Feldstein's been a member for 38 months. Yeah, we don't know about any of those things. We don't know what's going on. But I will point out once again, like, for my money, it is particularly strange that this happened in DC, because as I'm sure some of you know, the DC air corridor is particularly restricted because of the presence of the White House. So you can't just fly through Washington, D.C. You can't fly within like 25 miles of Washington, D.C. In order to enter that corridor, you need special permission and special procedures because of the sensitivity of the White House plus all the other government buildings that are there. So it is particularly strange that has happened in DC, where the airspace is arguably the most restricted airspace there is, at least with respect to commercial flights. I suppose there might be more restricted air spaces that relates to military bases or something, but it's among the most restricted airspace there is in the United States. So it's particularly strange it happened in DC with all those restrictions in place. So, it's a wonder that it happened. $5 from Base Chaman says, the other Frost did a video on Pirate Software DMCA, a game for making fun of him. Can you look into it? Real lawsuit? That sounds funny. Pirate Software DMCA, a game for making fun of him? That sounds funny. I might do that. That sounds interesting. Yeah. The drones issue is obviously an issue that also needs to be explored because of this airspace in particular, right? Because you shouldn't have drones flying through this airspace. In particular, you shouldn't have it flying through this airspace. It's already near an airport. It's DC and everything else. It's like, it shouldn't be happening. Yeah. So something is really wrong with this picture. Something is really wrong with this picture. The Heli was flying on a dedicated helicopter route. Well, I mean, I don't know anything about that. I do know that, the helicopter and the plane were not supposed to be in the same place at the same time. I'm pretty positive of that. I'm pretty sure they were not supposed to be in the same place at the same time. So, I mean, I don't know if anyone was off their path. I don't know if anyone was off the standard corridors. I don't know what happened, but something is wrong. Pirate Software is even making legal threats like, you can't use my likeness. Pirate Software, man, that's too funny, man. You can't use my likeness? Yeah, okay. Well, that's not interesting. I mean, that's stupid. If it winds up in a lawsuit, I'll be happy to cover that. If Pirate Software winds up with a lawsuit, I'll cover it, and that will be pretty hilarious. They redirected to a different runway. I mean, that happens all the time in flights for any number of reasons, right? So, a plane might be redirected from one runway to another for any number of perfectly valid, ordinary reasons. nothing up your sleeve there. I mean, you can probably figure out what some of those reasons are off the top of your head, without me telling you. Yeah, I find Callie says, I find it interesting the Healy that went down was doing continuity of government training. I don't know if whether or not that's true. Like there was that one reporter who said it at the press conference earlier. I don't know if that really what was going on. I mean, it would make sense, but we don't know that to be true. But we'll find out what's happening later. Airline pilots dislike Reagan in particular because they have to bank pretty hard immediately after takeoff in order to avoid flying over the White House. Yeah, I mean, fair enough, but this seemed to be a landing, not a takeoff, so I don't know what's going on there. I think the Heli pilot picked the wrong plane to watch and avoided and was distracted in that and not the closer one. Yeah, maybe the Heli pilot wasn't looking in the right place. There is no way there are 400 at impact on video. You mean 400 feet or 400 mph? 400 mph, no. 400 feet, plausible. Yeah, I mean, given the images we saw, plausible. NTSB investigations take a long time. They certainly can take a very long time. The secretary said it in a video statement. Fair enough. I didn't know that to be true. So I don't know anything. I don't know if that's particularly interesting or not. I don't know how often continuity of government flights are done. I don't know how often or frequent that is. So I don't know whether or not that's a factor to be concerned about, although it is a very interesting detail. That's a continuity of government flight. That's pretty interesting. Ann Bell Feinstein says, I'm thinking military budget cuts and lack of pilot hours. Hegseth supposedly made a statement, haven't seen it. Yeah, fair enough. So, yeah, I don't know anything about that. Year or two at least. Oh, NTSB? Depends on a whole lot of factors. NTSB can move when they're motivated to, and I think that they're particularly motivated to here too. So I don't think it will necessarily take that long for an NTSB report, at least a preliminary report to come out. I would expect to see a report from NTSB. Really, I'd expect to see it within a couple weeks at max, to be honest. It's like they can get the preliminaries done, pretty fast, and I think everyone's extremely well motivated there. I mean, yeah. Minimum altitude for a plane is 500 and a helicopter for 0, isn't it? Well, no. It depends what's happening, right? There's no particular minimum altitude for a plane because the minimum altitude for a plane is 0. I mean, relative to ground, because at some point it has to land, right? So if it's in its glide path to land, there is no particular minimum altitude relative to the ground. So yeah, So it seemed like it was in the process of landing. So it doesn't strike me as particularly odd that the plane was at 400 feet because it was intending to be lower than that in the relatively near future. It seems to me based on the imagery. So, yeah. Thank you, Veronica, for being a member for 23 months. Pilots are not getting minimum hours. I don't know anything about that issue about minimum hours or not. I don't know how hard it is to get flight hours in the military. I don't know. This was supposedly a training mission, so this was supposed to be some of those flight hours, I guess, that they were supposed to be getting, but didn't really work that way. All right. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and sign off for now. This was kind of a quick hit. I'm going to post a video of me reacting to the press conference from earlier today, and we'll go there. Yeah. So many aviation experts in YouTube chat. Yeah. It's like, well, I know some things about aviation. I mean, my knowledge has limits, but I do read. It's like, yeah. It's like, well, and then there's a lot of things I don't know, but I try not to like front that I know more things than I do now. So the most likely thing is the helicopter messed up during switching control to civilian towers. I don't know if that seems like the most likely thing that happened, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that. The West Virginia Mercy hearing, I had to look it up afterwards, right? Virginia has invented a new process just for its state because it's special. So for top count murder, it is life without parole, but the jury can recommend parole. I don't think the judge has to necessarily accept it, but the jury can recommend it. And so they call it a mercy phase. I'm like, okay, that's an interesting name for it, I guess. So West Virginia has come up with an entirely new, fun, and exciting phase. In addition to the liability phase and the punishment phase, we have the new, exciting mercy phase. That's interesting. And it's just for the jury to decide whether or not to recommend parole or not, which I don't even think the judge has to agree to. So I'm not sure what the point is, but okay. They want to be different. Yeah, West Virginia is different. They didn't even have appellate courts until like a couple years ago. They only had the Supreme Court. They had the trial court and they had the Supreme Court. They didn't have appellate courts except for the Supreme Court. So every single case that got appealed went to the state Supreme Court. Every single appeal. How does that make any sense? The Supreme Court doesn't have anything better to do with their time? Holy shit. So West Virginia, until like 4 years ago, didn't have an appellate level. West Virginia is weird, ma'am. West Virginia is weird. Every state's weird when you look at it. Every state has little weird things about its law, and they do little weird stuff. Texas and Oklahoma have 2 Supreme Courts. New York refuses to call their highest court the Supreme Court. They like to call their lowest court the Supreme Court. That confuses everyone. The Maryland Supreme Court wears red robes. I mean, every state does weird shit, man. Yeah, Nebraska's unicameral, but that's the legislature, not their court. But still, yeah, they only have a Senate in Nebraska. I guess. I don't know. It seems to work for them. Probably not have as much military training around Reagan Airport, I would imagine. That's probably going to be less likely in the future. Less military training in, yeah. Florida juries get to ask questions. Yes, different states are experimenting with questions to different levels of degrees. But yeah, different states allow questions. Some do, some don't. Some more, some less. Whatever. It's just, yeah. Louisiana, of course, is interesting because it's technically civil law. So technically they have no precedent. So I guess as a judge, you can never really be wrong. I guess that's what that means. As a judge, you can never be wrong. I don't know. Or does it mean you're always wrong? I'm not sure. Yeah. Juan Brown has excellent info on the DC crash. Seems the helicopter may have been the cause. I mean, that seems pretty likely. That the helicopter might have very likely been the cause. That seems like a very strong possibility. Should we take a look at this video and see what other people are saying? Let's take a look and see what's going on. Let's see if there's anything here of value that we can learn from. 514,000 subscribers. Well, I can learn how to run a better channel. I'll tell you what.
It's Thursday morning, the 30th of January. We now have a lot more information about the tragic mid-air collision between the military helicopter and the American Airlines regional jet while on final approach to runway 33 at Washington's Ronald Reagan International Airport. My name's Juan Brown. You're watching
Hey Juan,
the
how you
Radio
doing?
Channel. Let's check it out. We now know that the Black Hawk helicopter was on a published helicopter route, presumably heading down to Davison Army Airfield located to the south.
Yeah,
of
you see like
DCA.
all those circles? You see all those circles? Yeah, those circles are telling you that there are restrictions on flights, man, right? You got all kinds of restrictions upon restrictions. Yeah, you got the circles are telling you problems.
If you go to SkyVector aeronautical charts, and let me move this out of the way, click on the DC helicopter chart button, you'll get this chart that shows these published routes through the Class Bravo airspace. This helicopter was operating on Route 1 coming down the Potomac River from the north, and then transitioning to Route 4 and continuing the route to the south towards Davison Army Airfield. If we look closely at Route 1, the maximum altitude located right here is 200 feet, and this route is to hug the eastern shoreline of the Potomac River.
200 feet for maximum?
At or below
Wow.
200 feet to stay below the arrivals into DCA.
That's pretty low, right? I mean, that's pretty low. Maximum altitude of 200 feet, man? Man. Shit.
Not until you get below or south of the Wilson Bridge are you then allowed to climb to 300 feet, maximum altitude. These are visual routes flown in visual or VFR conditions. This is very tight hemmed-in airspace, as you've got the prohibited areas of the White House and the Pentagon located right up here, and you've got the airspace of DCA Airport located right here. There's 3 runways at Washington, DCA. Runway 1 is the main runway, 7,169 feet long, and that's the runway that this RJ was originally lined up to land on. But at the request of ATC, the RJ was asked to come around and land on runway 33, the shorter runway at just 5,200 feet. This is a very demanding approach and very busy airspace. Not only do you got to stay within the tight constraints of the airspace, but you also, the runways are short, so you got to get it right on the end of the runway, requiring all of your attention. The approach that the RJ was initially cleared for was the visual approach to runway 1, which looks like this, which brings you straight up the river to land on runway 1. Now with the RJ coming in from the south and then circling around to land on runway 33, that puts the RJ pretty much beak to beak with the helicopter, with the RJ above the helicopter. The problem is, and this has been reported by other helicopter Black Hawk pilots that have flown this exact route and have seen this exact scenario, the problem is going beak to beak at night, the lights of the RJ tend to blend in with the city lights behind you, even though the RJ is a little bit above the helicopter. Another problem when you're going head to head with each other is if there's no lateral movement in the windscreen, that light is very hard to detect. Now, eventually, the RJ has to make the left-hand turn to land on runway 33, and that puts the helicopter onto the right side of the RJ. Now, very late into this transition, the tower controller here at the airport asks the helicopter, do you have the RJ jet in sight? To which the helicopter responds, yes, we have the RJ in sight, request visual separation. That hands off the responsibility of the separation of these two aircraft to that of the helicopter pilot. The ATC asks the helicopter pilot to then pass behind the RJ, to which the helicopter responds affirmative, but instead he runs right into the RJ. Complicating things may be the use of night vision goggles. Pete Hegseth mentioned in his press briefing that night vision goggles were being used on this training flight. It's believed that they were using the late model night vision goggles, these AVS 9 white phosphor goggles. The problem with these NVGs is that they restrict your peripheral vision, and it's harder to visualize the depth perception in these NVGs. And usually if a helicopter crew's on NVGs, both pilots would be on NVGs at the same time in case they actually are in the real goo and one pilot's NVGs has a problem, the other one can continue to fly the aircraft safely. So let's take a listen to the actual ATC audio and see how this played out. Please support Victor at Vass Aviation on Patreon as he takes a lot of time, effort, and energy to get this ATC communications down and overlaid on a proper radar animation.
Tower 5342 on Mount Vernon, visual runway 1.
Now, do these radar indicate height? Doesn't look like they do, because it would be interesting to know, like, if it indicated what heights they were actually at. We know from the chart below what they're supposed to be doing, but what are they actually doing would be nice to know. But it doesn't look like this provides that information.
This is Washington Tower 1 star 32 direct 17 truck 25. You take runway 33.
Yeah, we can do 33 for Blue 6342.
Proceed for 342. That's a Wilson Bridge. Change to turn for runway 33.
Height is the bomb left number. So 005 is what, 500 feet? And 012 is 1,200 feet? Is that what I'm reading? Yeah, so 005 is 500 feet. Okay. And 012 is 1,200 feet. Okay, that makes sense. So, but the helicopter's not supposed to be up at 500 feet, right? Didn't we establish earlier from the chart that it's supposed to be at a maximum of 200 feet? Or did I misunderstand? Right? Because the helicopter's too high, right? From earlier, didn't we establish the helicopter was supposed to be no higher than 200 feet? So the helicopter is too high. Yeah, right? You said 200 feet was max, and it says 005, right? That's height above sea level? Okay. Fair point. What is sea level relative to the Potomac, I guess, is a reasonable question. I don't know the answer to that question off the top of my head. Yeah, what is sea level relative to the Potomac?
33 clear for land.
Change to runway 33, runway 33 for land, Blue 6342.
Okay, there's the initial call up from Blue Streak 5342. He's on the visual for runway 1, and then the tower asks him to transition to runway 33. So
292 according to Google. So 292. So let's say 300. So then we have to subtract 3 from whatever, we'll call it 3 to make our lives easier. So when it said 005, that really means 002. So it was at the right height. And so this plane that says 10 is really 8 or really 7. So this 4 is really 1 and this 10 is really 7. So it's flying at 100 feet.
here's the regional jet.
I mean, I suppose it is to the nearest 100. So it's somewhere between 100 and 200 feet, right?
It's this far away from the runway, and here's Pat 25, the helicopter, working his way down Route 1 on the Potomac River. Now, one of the other holes in the Swiss cheese are the frequencies. The frequencies are split. The tower controller can listen to both the helicopter and the RJ. However, the helicopter is on a separate frequency from the RJ, so the RJ cannot hear the helicopter, and I don't believe the helicopter can hear the RJ. So the
altitude at Reagan is 1600. Well, that can't be, because then that'd be negative. I mean, that doesn't make sense.
Airline pilot is missing half of the conversation.
16 feet. Altitude at Reagan is 16 feet. Okay. So then we're just back to like, I mean, it's not that much a difference between Reagan and the Potomac. I mean, right? Because the Potomac is water and it's flat. Literally 16. But the Potomac is 300. The Potomac is like 300 feet higher than, or 270 feet higher than the airport. Okay.
Reducing his situational awareness slightly. But if you can see from here, if he's going to circle...
The lower part of the river near Washington, D.C. is an estuary at 419 feet above sea level. Okay. So that makes these numbers hard to determine, right? Like, So I don't know what this number means now. This number is now completely useless to me. That's very helpful. Because like, well, I don't know what 004 is because it's relative to sea level, and I don't know what my how are pilots supposed to figure this out, incidentally? Like, if I'm supposed to fly at no higher than 200 feet, if I'm supposed to fly at no higher than 200 feet off the ground, how am I supposed to know what that is if all I have is a thing that tells me my thing relative to sea level? It's like, how am I supposed to know what it is for the ground at any given time? Like, I don't understand how I'm supposed to know that. Sensors tell you? So you have a separate sensor that tells you how many feet you're off the ground? I mean, that'd be certainly really helpful. Yeah, I don't think you do math. It would be impossible to do math while you're flying. There's no way you could possibly do it because the ground level would be constantly changing below you. There'd be no way to keep that amount of information in your head. You couldn't do it. There's no way you could possibly do the math in your head constantly. Couldn't possibly do it. Yeah. The instruments tell you. Well, that's why I'm asking questions. I don't know. See, this is what I do. I ask questions, you give me information. And then I learn things. It's my secret way of tricking you into teaching me things. Altimeter, does the altimeter measure relative to pure ground level, or does it measure relative to sea level? In which case, I'm back to my previous question. That's the problem, right? If the altimeter measures relative to sea level, I'm back to my previous question. If it measures relative to absolute ground level, then, fine. That'd be great. The radar altimeter measures relative to ground? Great. Excellent. Moving on.
Around to runway 33, that's going to put him directly in conflict with Pat 25.
But not every plane has radar altimeter, right? Not every plane has radar altimeter. I mean, small planes don't have a radar altimeter, do they? They do? Small planes like a one person or two person Cessna would have a radar altimeter? They do? Okay. All right, fair enough. Okay, all right, fair enough. Okay. You learn something new every day, man. All right, cool.
Where the controller is going to rely upon the altitude difference of just a couple hundred feet between these two aircraft to maintain separation. And the controller is also going to rely on the helicopter to maintain visual separation from the RJ. Now let's check out Victor's most recent video here, where he's done an excellent job of overlaying this over the helicopter route map. Here you can see the Route 1 that Pat 25 is flying. And here is the RJ, already offsetting to the right to make a left base entry to runway 33.
Yeah, 789, contact so far today. Okay. American 3130 for the final. Well, American 3130. Pat 25, traffic just off the Wilson Bridge to CRJ at 1,200 feet, start runway 33.
That has a traffic site request visual separation.
This separation proof. American 1630 tower, runway 1, lot 4, traffic throughout, start runway 33, dispatch 16 on final.
Runway 1.
This is in real time.
5307, keep rolling out to November convoy.
This is incredibly sad. I'd just like to note for the record, this is very depressing. This is incredibly depressing at this point. I'm watching a snuff film at this point. I'm not necessarily the happiest of campers. This sucks.
American 16, turn to 1 star 320 at 14, Gulf 25, traffic 2 mile left base runway 33, no delay, runway 1 clear for immediate takeoff.
Number 1, clear for takeoff, American 1630.
Pat 25, get the CRJ in flight. Pat 25, pass behind this CRJ.
Pat 25 has a aircraft in flight request visual separation.
Two separate.
Yeah, the tower gets a warning indicator.
4782 by Pat.
That sucks.
American 472, Washington, 1 star 320
As we look at these two targets merge, check out the altitude. Pat 25 at 200
Conflict
feet as
warning.
required on the route. It looks like he's slightly to the right of
That
the route. Now
sucks.
he's up to 300 feet. He's 100 feet high. The CRJ descending to 500 feet, 400 feet, and then finally 400 feet.
I want
25 still at
I want
300
more.
feet.
I want more. I feel like I need more. I feel like I need the tower records for like the next half hour. I feel like I need to know more. I feel like I need to know everything the tower said and thought and breathed. Yeah, I feel like I need to know how the tower reacted and what they did and their communications, and I feel like I need more information. I feel like I need another half hour of audio. Yeah.
There, the altitudes merge right at the collision. I also want to point out this. There's another aircraft behind the RJ that was involved in the collision, another American Airlines Jet 3130. Remember, the CRJ is owned by PSA Airlines, is a fully owned subsidiary of American Eagle, but has the call sign of Blue Streak. But this second aircraft behind the RJ may have been the aircraft that the helicopter mistakenly picked up on. Or
It doesn't necessarily sound like the tower made a mistake, right? Like the tower, like, do you have this? And like checked with the pilot. It doesn't really sound like the tower made the mistake. You know, I mean, first blush impression, it sounds like the helicopter made the mistake. That's my initial read. All right. Yeah. The helicopter's like, we got it, you don't got it. Yeah.
he could have been picking up one of the aircraft that were taking off. It's more likely than not that the crew of the helicopters picked up on the wrong target to see and avoid.
Yep. Yeah, that seems
so a lot of holes in the
I tentatively agree with his conclusion, right? Because it's like you listen to all that and it's like, what's the most logical conclusion based on that? Like the most logical conclusion is that the pilot of the pilot of the helicopter was looking at the wrong thing. Yeah, it sounds like the pilot of the helicopter was looking at the wrong thing. The plane might not have seen. Yeah, the plane might not have seen the helicopter at all. Yeah.
Classic Swiss cheese model of accident investigations that the NTSB will be reviewing, including the runway change from runway 1 to runway 33, which put these two aircraft on a more tighter collision course, the altitude control of the helicopter on his training flight getting above 200 feet right directly into the way of the airliner, the possible use of night vision goggles, if that was a factor, that could certainly limit your situational awareness and your ability to see and avoid visually. The late call out by the air traffic control tower to the helicopter asking him if he sees the RJ in sight after the
I guess these are feet markers in feet from ground. Are these feet markers from feet from ground? 525, 500, 450, 400, 375, 350. And this lists 300 and this is 350. So the crash happened at about 350 feet. Am I understanding that correctly? Relative to ground. I mean, they are right next to the airport. I can literally see the airport runway right there. So if the airport is at 16 feet, like, then those planes are at 350, right? I mean, because water is going to be at the same level as the airport. So, yeah. So the collision happened at about 350 feet. Seems about right.
Air traffic controller got the collision avoidance warning there in his cab. The fact that night visual approaches.
Yep. See, yeah, the plane is coming in for final landing at this airport, at this runway right here. Yeah, it's coming in for final approach at that runway. Yep, they were almost on the ground, man. They were almost on the ground. That is so incredibly depressing. You know, the people in the plane were, people in the plane were probably pretty excited getting closer and closer to the ground. I know I get kind of antsy at the very end of my flight. I'm like, I just want to touch the ground. I just want to touch the ground. Right? Like, it's like you get antsy and you see yourself getting closer and closer to the ground. You're like, you're almost there. You're almost there. And like, probably, never knew what happened. Never knew what happened, man. That sucks. That sucks. There are survivors. I haven't heard of any survivors. Yeah, I haven't heard of any survivors. If there were survivors out of this, that'd be amazing. There was one guy that survived because he was denied boarding. So he drove and said, that doesn't count. If he wasn't on the plane, that doesn't count as a survivor. That counts as a guy who'll have a story for the rest of his life, though. Holy shit, though, man. Come on.
Trying to see and avoid that the lights of the aircraft, especially if they're oncoming directly to you, tend to blend in with the lights of the city behind you. Flying C-130s up at the Reno National Guard for years, coming into Reno, it was very difficult to see your formation partner aircraft in front of you, as they would tend to blend into those city lights. The separate frequencies that the two different aircraft were operating on, giving you only half of the situational awareness that you would normally have if you could hear both sides of the conversation. And finally, the limits of TCAS, traffic collision avoidance systems, with the present technology where resolution advisories are disabled below 1,000 feet to avoid sending one aircraft into a descending RA into the ground, plus the limitation of no oral warnings from the TCAS below 500 feet. All these things are going to be looked at closely in this investigation. Thank you so much for your support of this channel, especially the folks over on Patreon that make this content possible. See you here.
Well, that's definitely one of the more depressing things in recent memory. That is just like, you almost wish you could like reach into the screen and prevent it from happening, right? Like you wish you could reach into the screen and be like, that sucks. That just absolutely sucks. Let's watch this video from 17 hours ago. I mean, this was an older video, but I want to see if his older video had any other details.
A quick update on the disaster that just happened.
So this is the video from before. So 17-hour old video. Let's watch this one, see if it gives us any information.
In Washington, D.C., between the regional jet and the Army National Guard helicopter PAT-25, where the two aircraft collided just short of final for runway 33 at DCA. Here's what we know so far. My name is Juan Brown. You're watching the Blanco Lirio channel. The airspace coming into DCA is extremely busy, including two prohibited areas just to the north of the airport and the Joint Base Bowling located right up here. The RJ, or regional jet, a CRJ 700 coming in from Wichita to DCA, operated by PSA Airlines for American Eagle, was cleared for the approach to runway 1. Not sure if it was the instrument approach or the river visual approach to runway 1, circled to land to runway 33. So what that means is the RJ flies the approach to this runway 1, the long runway, and then sidesteps around here to a left dogleg entry to runway 33, the relatively short runway, about 5,200 feet long here at Washington, D.C. A very demanding approach. This crew is focused on this approach. This mid-air collision occurred just below 400 feet above the ground. The National Guard helicopter, believed to be either a UH-60 or V-8.
If it happened just above 400 feet above the ground, then that means the pilot was flying too high, right? In the air, in the helicopter, that is, because from the previous chart, right? So if this collision happened at 300 feet and change, then the military helicopter was too high, right? So the military helicopter fucked up.
H-60, Victor H-60, was presumably operating out of Joint Base Bowling, located right here. Here's where the helicopters operate out of. They have this procedure where they can dart across the Potomac River right across the final approach for these airlines. This is an approved procedure. Looking at the video widely published on social media, here comes the regional jet. We are looking to the south. The regional jet is heading towards us, doing the approach to runway 1 and stepping to runway 33. Here is the helicopter, the UH or VH-60 helicopter, approaching from our left. And he's approaching to the right side of the aircraft, coming from Joint Base Bolling. And the two collide right there. Now let's review the ATC data.
Damn.
First, let's check this out from ADS-B Exchange, where the two aircraft came together. So here you can see the regional jet doing the sidestep maneuver to runway 33, so kind of a left dogleg base entry. This is all done visually to runway 33, and the helicopter coming out of Bolling and crossing right into its path. We'll listen to this audio just to get an idea of just how busy this airspace is leading up to the collision.
Clear for immediate takeoff. 70 request.
L3 to 76.
Most of you say Rockford Zone 6. 7 approved. National College, good evening. Airfield 1
All of these communications are in real time.
Medevac Air Carrier 1 to Washington Tower, National Altimeter 290. Approved to Washington Class Rover, Space Support Land Interior Fairfax. 0 for 1 copy. S25, get the CRJ in flight. S25, pass on this CRJ.
This cloud has an aircraft in flight for separation.
Separation. 472 Washington Tower, 1 star, 32017.
Okay, that was it. That was the collision. Did you hear the communications? Pat 25 is the call sign of the military transport helicopter. That's Priority Air Transport. We believe this is one of the gold top helicopters out of Washington, D.C. And the tower at DCA says, Pat 25, do you have the CRJ in sight? Now, I believe the helicopters are operating on a separate frequency from the CRJ, so I don't believe the CRJ hears the helicopters, but all this is being controlled by the tower there at DCA. So the tower says, Pat 25, do you have the CRJ in sight? Pat 25 responds, have the CRJ in sight, request visual separation, standard procedure. And then the tower clears Pat 25 to pass behind the CRJ. For whatever reason, the helicopter did not see and avoid the CRJ and ran right into him. Here's the flight aware data for the CRJ. It looks like the CRJ was cleared for the ILS straight in approach to runway 1, not the visual, and then did the sidestep to runway 33. And looking at the track log, the CRJ was on a perfectly stabilized approach. In other words, the CRJ was exactly where he was supposed to be, doing exactly what he was supposed to be doing. According to initial news reports, the helicopter involved was Army UH-60 or one of these gold top VH-60 helicopters operated by Bravo Company, 12th Aviation Battalion, Davison Army Airfield, on a training flight. So there were just three crew members on board the helicopter at the time of the collision. There were no VIPs being transported at the time of the collision. Regarding TCAS, the Traffic Collision Avoidance System, it's believed that the helicopter had this equipment on board. The regional jet certainly had this equipment on board. But remember, TCAS does not give an RA or a resolution advisory below 1,000 feet. So instead, you will just get the traffic and the diamond lighting up on your screen, but it will not tell you to climb or descend below 1,000 feet because you're simply too low to be given a descending resolution advisory that would descend you right into the water or right into the terrain. So below 1,000 feet, TCAS resolution advisories are inhibited. The weather was good at the time of the accident. The winds were gusting out of the north, 15 gusts 26 knots. But for whatever reason, the helicopter pilot did not see and avoid the CRJ as he was directed by ATC and as he responded to ATC saying that he would pass behind the CRJ. Investigators will need to determine, did the helicopter even have his transponder on and operational? What were the two different frequencies that these pilots were operating on? And this background lighting can make it difficult to see these objects at night.
That
and
makes
the
sense.
bright landing lights of the CRJ, you're not going to see if you're approaching them from a beam. Or did the helicopter crew confuse this aircraft that was taking off for the CRJ, but that aircraft would have been well off to the helicopter crew's right? The first major airline aviation accident here in the United States since 2009. If we get more information, we'll post it here. See you here.
Damn. The tower audio that was released that we heard earlier, like, where does that come from? The tower, because people had the tower audio really early on, right? So, like, is there somewhere that just has like all the tower audio like recorded that I could go to and like listen to it? Because I'm just kind of curious. Yeah, so it's just like, where is it coming from? Or did like they release, like, mention the source in the first video? ATC Live, Vast Aviation. People edit them and post them in ATC videos. Okay, so let's try. Okay, so this is Vast Aviation. Let's give this a shot. Shut up. Let's give this a shot. Okay, so we got audio of midair crash and then last audio. Okay, so you get two kinds of audio. All right, let's give this audio a shot. You can listen to ATC Live.
Tower 5342 on Mount Vernon visual runway 1.
Lucy 5342, Washington Tower 1 star 32017, truck 25. Can you take runway 33?
Yeah, we can do 33 for Blue 6342.
Lucy 5342, that's a Wilson Bridge, change to turn runway 33, clear for land.
Change to runway 33 for land, Blue 6342.
Jet 789, 1 star 32015, truck 25, traffic 2 out, no delay, runway 1 for takeoff.
Takeoff, runway 1, no delay.
Can I move myself to where?
Washington Tower.
Where do you want me to move myself?
Runway 1. American 3130, Washington Tower 1 star 31014, truck 25, runway 1 clear to land. Traffic may depart for arrival.
Okay, clear land runway 1, American 3130.
Jet 789, contact Sun Park today.
Okay.
American 3130, for the final.
Well, American 3130.
At 25, traffic just off the Wilson Bridge to CRJ is 1000.
The entire airport was shut down until 11 o'clock this morning.
Dispatch crew. American 1630 Tower, runway 1, lot 4, traffic are Alpha runway 33, dispatch 16 off final.
Runway 1.
Whiskey 5307, keep rolling out to November, count 47 today. American 1630 1 star 32014, Duck 25, traffic 2 mile left base runway 33, no delay, runway 1 clear for immediate takeoff.
Number 1, clear for takeoff, American 1630.
Pat 25, get the CRJ in sight.
Yep.
Pat 25, pass behind this CRJ. Good service.
Yes.
American 4782 by Pat, Mount Vernon visual.
American 472, Washington Tower 1 star 32017. Tower. There's this wind. Tower, did you see that? 472. American 3130, go around, turn left in 250, climb maintain 3000. Okay, left in 350, 3000, American 3130. Tower, Blue Streak 5347 is on final. Request runway 33, circle to 33. Second heading for American 3130. American 3130, go around, turn left in 270, climb maintain 3000. 270 on the heading, 3000, American 3130. American 472. American 472, cancel landing clearance runway 1 continue. American 472, cancel approach clearance runway 1 continue. Approach clearance canceled, we're continuing. Blue Streak 5305, I think you saw that, it was by house. Affirmative. Clarify what you want 478 to do. Are we going around or are we continuing? 05, maintain 3000. American 472 is going around, we're going to climb maintain 3000. Tower, Blue Streak 50.
Live TAC website has a lot of towers. I was listening to this one run down last night's background noise. I might listen to some more of this like stuff because it's, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I just feel like, I don't know. I feel like it's somehow important to listen to. I don't really know how I feel beyond that. I feel like, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel.
347 is on final. All right, for American 472, we're on the go. We're going to climb maintain 3000. You have a heading? American 472, let's start heading 270, climb maintain 3000. Contact Potomac on 118495. 270 the heading, 3000 and 1895, American 472.
I mean, that's got to be like rough for the tower, right? Because like you now have all these other aircraft that you've got to deal with in an emergency situation. It's like, I don't even know what you do at that point. Divert everyone to Dulles? Is that what you do? Like just shut down, say the tower shut down, divert everyone to Dulles? Good luck, figure it out. I don't know what you do.
American 3130, contact approach on 1895. 1895, 3130. 5347 is on final request.
Yeah, that's what they did. Well, it's nice to know that my instinct was the right answer. I suppose I'll take some credit. I'll take some credit for that. It's like, well, okay, what would you do? It's like, well, shut down the airport, divert everyone to Dulles. It's like, oh, that was the right answer. Yay, Uncivil feels like he accomplished something today. All right, good news.
Then go around, climb maintain 3000, fly 3000 heading, go around 3000, Blue Streak 5347. American 3130, contact approach, standby.
Crash. This is alert 3. Crash. This is alert 3. Crash. This is alert 3. Where's the alert 3? It is off the approach end of runway 33.
What is MWAA? I wish they told you what these things were. I'm trying to figure out if I can like deduce what it is from logic. I got nothing.
The approach end of runway 33. Helicopter crash.
DC Port Authority.
Copy out this morning. Crash. This is alert 3. 2 helicopters.
Metro Washington Aviation Authority. That makes sense.
CRJ approach end of runway 33. The approach end runway 33, a mile off final. Crash. Kilo CRJ, approach end 33. Okay. How many souls on board? We don't have any of that information. One for taxi 301.
Also, just out of raw curiosity, what are alerts 1 and 2? What are alerts 1 and 2? Dude. Okay.
I was reporting a CRJ and a helicopter crash between the Potomac River.
Can we go ahead and hold all operations till we have emergency units respond? We're going to go ahead and show the aerodrome closed.
Yeah, that's affirmative. Hold all operations, aerodrome closed.
Blue Sheep for the 347, turn right heading 0, Harrison. Blue Sheep for the 347, turn right heading 120. 120, I'm heading Blue Sheep for 347.
Alert 1 indicates minor difficulties. Okay.
And everybody just hold your positions, please, on the
Alert 2 indicates major difficulties such as engine fire. Okay. Difficult or crash landing is expected. Alert 3 indicates an aircraft is involved in an accident. Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
field right now.
South 43, ready for taxi.
Yeah, I don't think Southwest is going to be taxiing. I have some bad news for Southwest. I don't think they're going to be taxiing anytime in the near future.
For now. I'll get back to you just as soon as I can. Fire Command, the accident happened in the river. Both the helicopter and the plane crashed in the river. It's east of the approach end of runway 33.
Is the airfield closed?
Yes, the airfield is closed. The airfield is closed.
Runways as well?
Yes, all runways are closed. Nobody's landing. No one's moving.
Is there a distinction between the airfield and the runways? Because that strikes me as a silly question, but maybe it's not a silly question to a pilot. Is the airfield closed? Yes. Are the runways closed? What do you think? Take a guess.
At all.
And we have clearance across all taxiways and runways, correct?
Yes, you have clearance through the whole field, all taxiways and runways.
That sucks. Yeah, I mean, I would think the airfield would include all the things, but it's like, okay. Yeah, that sucks. All right, let's watch this other video from the same channel. Last radio from the Army helicopter. Okay. Let's watch this one. I have to say that, like, I'm pretty impressed by that communication being very non-panicky. Like, that's impressive. I don't think I'm pretty sure I'd be losing my absolute shit. I mean, obviously I'm not trained for it, but I'm pretty sure that I'd be losing my shit and going completely crazy. So the fact that the tower and like everyone else is communicating in like normal tones, it's pretty amazing. It's like even crash alert 3 isn't said in normal tones, as opposed to uncivil where he'd be like probably in screeching it. Not so much with the screeching. So, ATC is trained to stay calm. I am sure they are, but it's still impressive they're actually able to do it. It's like one of those things, like everyone has a plan until they have contact with the enemy, right? It's like, yeah, it's like, I'm sure they're trained to do it, but they're actually being able to do it is like pretty impressive. I'm not really seeing any immediate signs that this is a problem with air traffic control. This doesn't seem like this is an immediate problem. I'm not seeing any problems. I mean, I'm a civilian, I'm untrained. I'm listening to it, I'm watching it, but I'm like, well, nothing is staring out to me. Nothing is staring out to me. It's like, oh, this is definitely the problem. It's like that all sounds fine to me. It's like it sounds okay. Except for the fact the crash occurred, but I can't find the problem with air traffic control.
Yeah, 789, contact Stone Park today.
Okay.
American 3130 for the final.
Slow on American 3130.
Pad 25, traffic just off the Wilson Bridge to CRJ at 1,200 feet, start from runway 33.
Scott has a traffic site request visual separation.
It's separation approved. American 1630.
Yeah, visual separation approved. Like, you know, that the pilot for the helicopter requested visual separation. Yeah, they gave it confirmation twice, and they even asked, "Hey, do you see this thing?" Like when they got the alert, they even like specially contacted them and stuff. Like, damn, shit, man.
Runway 1 off void, traffic around start from runway 33, dispatch 16 on final. Lucy 5307, keep rolling out to November, ground 47 today. American 16, turn to 1 star 32014, Galaxy 5, traffic 2 mile low base, runway 33, no delay, runway 1 clear for immediate takeoff.
Number 1, clear for takeoff, American 1630.
Yeah, conflict, and then they get the conflict warning, then immediately contact them. Like, you hear that conflict warning, and they immediately say, "Do you have it in sight?" Like, they're right on the ball, man.
CRJ in sight. Pad 25, pass behind this CRJ.
This cloud has a aircraft in sight request visual separation.
Good separation.
It's like in the second time they say we want visual separation. So the second time they confirm visual separation, which gives primary control to the helicopter. Yeah, as someone who's been sub to VAS Aviation, all the other aviation channels for a long time, the only thing you can say is that ATC should have had bearing and range to altitude. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
American 4782 by Bath, now for visual.
American 472, Washington, 1 star 32017.
Alright, this is wind. Did you see that?
472. American 3130, go around, turn left in 250, climb maintain 3000.
You're left in 350, 3000, American 3130.
Tower Boost Streak 5347 is on final. Request runway 33, circle to 33.
Second heading for American 3130.
American 3130, go around, turn left in 270, climb maintain 3000.
270 on the heading, 3000, American 3130.
Crash, crash, crash. This is alert 3. Crash, crash, crash. This is alert 3. Crash, crash, crash. This is alert 3. Oh, shit.
Where's the alert 3?
It is off the approach end of runway 33. Approach end of runway 33. Helicopter crash.
Helicopter. Copy out this morning.
Crash, crash, crash. This is alert 3. 2 helicopters. Helicopter CRJ. Approach end of runway 33.
Yep.
The approach end runway 33, a mile off final. Crash, crash, crash. You get spelled? Yeah. Kilo CRJ, approach end 33.
Okay. How many souls on board?
We don't have any of that information. Towers reporting a CRJ and a helicopter crash. That's over the river.
Yep.
Can we go ahead and hold all operations till we have emergency units respond? We're going to go ahead and show the aerodrome closed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that we call it an aerodome. That's interesting. I didn't know that we called it an aerodome, but apparently we do. So another thing we learned today. I mean, I'm not sure what else I'd call it, but, you know, aerodome apparently is the thing we call it. Okay.
Affirmative. Hold all operations, aerodrome closed.
And everybody just...
I mean, is it 1925 or is it 2025? Am I right? With aerodome?
Hold your positions, please, on the field right now.
It's probably been the term since 1925, and we just never changed it. That's probably what's happened.
South 43, ready for taxi.
Everyone's going to have to hold for now. I'll get back to you just as soon as I can. Fire Command, the accident happened in the river. Both the helicopter and the plane crashed in the river. It's east of the approach end of runway 33.
Is the airfield closed?
Yes, the airfield is closed. The airfield is closed.
Runways as well?
Yes, all runways are closed.
It's like at that
Nobody's
point, I'd be
landing, no one's
like tempted to
moving
say,
at all.
"Bitch, did I start it?" That would be my response right about now.
Across all taxiways and runways, correct?
But that's probably why
Yes,
I'm
we
not.
have clearance
That's probably
to
why I
the
don't have
whole
that
field, all
job.
taxiways and runways.
That is sucks. More than 40 bodies have been recovered from the Potomac. One black box has been recovered. Forty bodies have been recovered from the Potomac. That is. One air traffic controller is working 2 different tower positions at the time. It seemed like he was doing a good job. I don't think this is ATC's fault, as best as I can tell. Yeah. One black box has been recovered. We'll probably won't be able to get any data from that for quite a while. The president of Airline Pilots Association said the union accident investigation team is on the scene of Washington, D.C. I bet. 64 people aboard the passenger plane. 3 aboard the military helo. 67 people are dead. Live Now has he kicks this video. Yeah, let's go ahead and watch that. That's fair. Let's go ahead and watch that. Give me a second. Air traffic controller working mobile position in one shift is normal. Okay. Well, I mean, it seemed like he did a good job as far as I could tell. I couldn't see any fault, immediately. With ATC, it sounded okay to me. To my civilian ear, it sounded okay. Okay. Let's watch this.
But I also wanted to give an update on the tragedy that happened last night here in Washington, D.C., and provide a little bit more information as we are actively working to investigate and understand what occurred and why. At about 8:48 last night, a UH-60 assigned to the U.S. Army Aviation Brigade in the Military District of Washington, Fort Belvoir, Virginia, collided tragically with a civilian airliner. The unit involved, the Army unit involved, was Bravo Company 12th Aviation Battalion at Fort Belvoir. It was an annual proficiency training flight. And when we look at the crew, and not all can have been notified, so we're going to withhold.
I'm guessing that the results of the annual proficiency training flight would probably be a failing mark. Just guessing.
Ranks and names at this point. We do know on our side who was involved. It was a fairly experienced crew, and it was doing a required annual night evaluation. They did have night vision goggles. The 12th Aviation Battalion, as of now, is granted a 48-hour operational pause on contingency missions as what happened is reviewed, and a senior-level aviation team, an investigative team from our Aviation Safety Center, was deployed last night and already is in Washington, D.C. to investigate what's going on. We anticipate that the investigation will quickly be able to determine whether the aircraft was in the corridor and at the right altitude at the time of the incident.
Doesn't seem like it,
As I
Pete.
mentioned, next of kin notifications are ongoing. It's a tragedy, a horrible loss of life for those 64 souls on that civilian airliner, and of course, the 3 soldiers in that Black Hawk. They're in our prayers, their families, and their communities as people are notified, I can't imagine. And I know it's gone from a rescue mission to a recovery mission, and we're with all the first responders that are moving actively too. So at the Defense Department, our thoughts and prayers go out. We are actively investigating to find out what happened and why. And as we get updates, you will have them. God bless.
Well, it wasn't especially informative, but okay, thanks. Let's see what else we got here.
We are back here for you. I'm live now from Fox. I'm your host.
I hate it when auto audio plays and then I have to figure out where the hell it's coming from. That pisses me off. Several near misses with helicopters were previously reported at Reagan. 3 years before the collision, at least 2 other pilots reported near misses. Didn't George Carlin say they should be called near hits rather than near misses? We didn't nearly miss. We nearly hit. Yeah. 3 students and 6 parents from Virginia's school system died in the aircraft collision from the Fairfax County Public School System. Okay. Air traffic controllers are allowed to accept Trump's administration software to resign. Yeah. Yeah. It is estimated that federal aviation needs 3,000 more air traffic controllers to meet industry demand. So they can't find enough people to do it. Yeah, I'm having a real tough time seeing my next career being an ATC person. I don't think the ATC job is for me. Yeah, I'm not really seeing the ATC job being for me. I think I'm going to take a pass on that one. More than 40 bodies removed from the Potomac as recovery efforts for the end of the day. Lame. You can't just stop a helicopter. I mean, you can't stop it on a dime. But, I mean, you can hover a helicopter, so, I mean, Yeah. Commercial plane, not helicopter, likely to have blind spots. Tammy Duckworth, an Army veteran, former Black Hawk pilot who served in Iraq, said it's more likely the pilot flying a commercial plane would have experienced blind spots. I don't know, man. Black Hawk helicopter says very good visibility. I don't know. Kansas governor expects to have flight manifest by Friday. I don't know. President Donald Trump plans to meet with some of I will be meeting with some people that were very badly hurt with their family member, obviously. It's kind of awkwardly worded. That's poorly phrased. Asked by a reporter if he plans to visit the crash site, President Trump said, I have plans to visit not the site because what is it? You tell me, the water? You want me to go swimming? Yikes. Not necessarily the best phraseology there. Okay. Yeah, well. This is interesting. This is interesting. I feel very sad, for lack of a better description. You know, I feel very, very sad. I'm not sure sad is the right verbiage for it, though. I'm not really sure. I don't know. What does visual separation mean? It just means that it's on the helicopter pilot to keep the separation by visual means. It's a request by the helicopter pilot to keep the separation visually by themselves. They're going to do it by looking, as opposed to being ATC's problem. My mood reminds me of the concept of melancholy. Yeah. Yeah. It's just a lot. You know, it's just like, I don't know. I think it's like, I think like many people, and I don't think this is a me problem, but I think like many people, I kind of forget that I'm mortal until I'm reminded. And it's like, you know, I think I sort of feel like I can imagine being in that plane, you know, because it's like, as I said, like, you know, when I'm in a plane, I'm just like very much like I want to get on the ground. You know, I'm watching the ground get closer and closer and getting more excited. And I'm like, because I don't want to be on this plane anymore. Because planes are cramped and claustrophobic and they're not fun to sit in. And I don't really like them very much. Planes are not fun. I really don't enjoy air travel. Every part of it sucks. Every single part of air travel blows. And I don't really like any single part of it. The very best part is when I get back off the plane. That's the best part of my day. Okay. So when I'm sitting in the plane and I'm watching us get closer and closer to the ground, I'm like, yep, I'm ready to go on the ground now. I was ready to get on the ground quite some time ago, no matter how long the flight was. You know, I was like, I don't really want to be in this tube anymore. And so I can really imagine myself, sitting on that plane and like just getting kind of more excited that we're getting closer and closer to the ground. And then basically there's nothing, right? It's like you don't even know there's a problem. You never even realize there's a problem. You're just dead. And the suddenness of it is very jarring. You know? It's like, it's just incredibly jarring. There were a whole bunch of people on that flight. Some of them were looking forward to going home. Some of them were looking forward probably to being in DC on vacation or business. There are people, you know, there's this people going about their lives, you know, and now they're dead. And I can't fix it. I can't fix it because I can't fix dead. And so that sucks. And so like, I don't know, it just feels all unfair. It's not my job to fix it, but I want to. I want to fix it. Right? It's like I want to fix it. It's the empathy. It's like the desire. It's the desire to fix it. It's like I want to fix the problem. And it's like, and I can't fix it. And so it's very disconcerting. You know? And I can't fix it. Yeah. It's a man thing to see something wrong or broken and need to fix it. Yeah. Like, yeah, this is part of like the male impulse, at least. It's like we see a bad thing and we want to fix it. Like that's a lot of, I think, the male impulse to like, the male impulse, I think, in a lot of ways is to the best version of the male impulse is to want to like fix the world. And to a large degree, that has been like the human experience because men have invented, or mankind at least, and I think males, generally speaking, have invented a lot of things to try to fix the world and succeeded in fixing the world. You know, we've invented all kinds of technology for the last 10,000 years to fix the world. And it's like I can't fix it, you know? And so it makes you feel a little hollow inside. Because I haven't figured out how to fix death yet. You know? So but it's one of the reasons that we build buildings and invent things, and it's one of the reasons that the world is as comfortable as it is. It's because we're constantly trying to fix the world. And it's like, yeah. And look how far we've come, and look how far we have to go. Yeah. Women tend to fix things more in the micro, and men tend to think more in the macro, I think. As a general proposition, women tend to be better about fixing things with respect to individual relationships and familial situations, I think. Men are better about fixing the world. Men are more interested in things. Women are more interested in people. Film at 11. Right? It's like, yeah. So and then we all take it for granted too. I think everyone takes it for granted. We all take for granted that I am sitting in an apartment building right now. There are walls, and there's a door, and there are windows, and there's heat and air conditioning and lighting. And there's food in a refrigerator. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? I have a refrigerator. How lucky am I to have a refrigerator? You know? And it has a freezer. I can keep food cold. Holy shit. Like, you know what I mean? It's just all like, it's all amazing. Have I eaten? No, not really. I've been trying to fast a little bit because I've been feeling fat. I had my breakfast coffee and I haven't had anything since then. I was trying to fast today a little bit, to be honest. So, no. I have running water. I know. I have running water, and the water won't kill me. It's not filled with cholera. You know? The water's not literally filled with shit. That's nice. There's not literal shit in my water. That's kind of nice. You know? Yeah. I'm starting, by the way, I just started compounded Monjourno. So I'm just trying to like give it a chance so I can try to lose some weight because I'm really tired of being fat. It sucks. And so I'm giving that a shot. And so literally, so I just started that on Tuesday. So we'll see how that goes. And hopefully, if I'm lucky, maybe I'll lose some weight that way, so I won't be so fat anymore. Eh. There's an app called Noon. I've used Noon before. Or Noon before. I'm familiar with the app. Do I do weight training? I went to the gym for the first time today, and like it's been a while. I don't know, for exactly 2 weeks. I don't know. I haven't been to the gym. I haven't been good about going to the gym recently. But I went to the gym today, and I did some weightlifting today. I did some chest flies, and I did some tricep push downs. I did some lat pull downs. I did some rotator. I'm not sure what cable rotating thing. Yeah, I got some work done today. Don't use the drugs to do it. That's my answer to you. You can fuck right off. Some have really bad side effects. Once again, fuck off. Fuck you. I have been overweight for way too long. I've tried too many solutions, and I need to find other solutions. The only thing left to do after this is like gastric bypass or other like surgical procedures. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to give the medicine a try and see if that works before I try to look at even more drastic solutions. And if you can't support that, then you can go fuck right off. Fuck off. That's what I have to say to that, man. Yeah, it helps a lot of people lose weight. Like, is it free? No, probably not. But then again, being overweight isn't exactly free. Now, for the moment at least, like, because I just did my blood work, and my blood work is really, really good. My blood work is really, really good. So, like, I'm not, like, in danger, at least in that domain. But, you know, it's going to catch up with me someday, and I'd prefer to lose weight and, like, not put so much strain on my heart. That sounds really, really good to me. So, yeah. I'm not that much overweight. I am actually a lot more overweight than you think. I'm a lot more overweight than you think I am. I hide my body weight really well. I'm probably way more overweight than you think I am, by a lot. If you had to guess how much I weigh. I'm a lot heavier than you think I am. Yeah. So I'm not sure I want to tell you the number, because if I tell you the number, then the people that love to troll me will harass it with me to the end of time. That's the only reason I'm not saying the number, because if I say the number, the people that troll me will say it to the end of time and will never stop harassing me. So how tall am I? 5'11 and a half, a shade under 6 foot. I probably round up to 6 feet. So I have 6 feet on my driver's license. People think I'm shorter than I am, too. Like, that's all people always say. Like, they think I'm shorter than I am. Because people, when I've seen them, they see me in life, or they see me next to other people, they think I'm shorter, and I'm 6 foot tall. Yeah. 6 foot is like 1.8 meters. Well, let's see. 3 feet is a yard. A yard's roughly a meter. So 6 feet would be roughly 2 meters. So 1.8 sounds about right. It sounds about right. You thought I was 6'2"? Not quite that much. Yeah, six foot, maybe just a shade under 6 foot. Any interest in keto? I've tried keto before. I find it very difficult to stick to for long periods of time. So I found it very difficult to stick to keto. 6 feet is 182.88 centimeters. There you go. That'll make our metric people happy. So 1.8 meters. Yeah. 1.83. Yeah. A yard is about 0.9 meters. There you go. So yeah. 0.9 times 2 would be 1.8. Yeah. I haven't measured myself in exactly centimeters, which I guess would be more precise. I don't know. What's the jar next to my play button? Oh, I think. Oh, that's my jar of fucks to give. Yeah, the jar next to my play button is my jar of fucks to give. Yeah. Yeah. Carbs are unfortunately very, very yummy. Carbs are unfortunately too yummy. I look good with the beard. Thanks. I like the beard look too. I probably won't keep it indefinitely, but it's keeping me nice for now. I think tomorrow I'm going to have to get a haircut though. My hair is getting a little long. I think it's time for a haircut though, so I think I'm going to have to get a haircut tomorrow. Barely protein pasta is good. I had that last time I had pasta. It was pretty good. 1.8 is considered tall in most of Central, East, and Southern Europe. Yeah. 6 foot. The average height of the average male is like 5'7". So I'm like 5 inches taller than like average. So I'm a relatively tall guy. Two teenage figure skaters, their mothers, two former world champions who were coaching at historic Boston club were among the 14 members of the skating community killed. Yeah. The average height of the Netherlands is 6 foot. Really? Tall people. Who knew? The former world champs are from Russia. They loved coaching. 5.7 for women? No. Women are smaller than that. 5'7" is the average for men. No, the average for women is like 5'3", 5'4". Yeah. No, the average woman is not 5. Oh, you mean in Norway or in you mean in Netherlands? It's 5'7". So the average woman is as tall as the average man in America. Wow, those are some tall women too. You got a lot of tall people over there, don't you? Damn. The Dutch and the Danes are tall as fuck. I guess they must be. Damn. Who knew? Who knew? I seem to recall reading the other day that people from, was it Norway, have the largest cup size? So I guess the Scandinavian countries are just tall and big people in multiple different dimensions. Calling the Netherlands Scandinavia is equivalent to calling Quebec American. Netherlands. Hold on. I need to look at a map of the world. Hold on. Netherlands. Okay, yeah, the Netherlands. Yeah, the Netherlands are too far over to be part of Scandinavia. Okay, I don't know. Yeah, you're right. The Netherlands are too far west to be part of Scandinavia. Yeah. Scandinavia, Denmark's Norway, Sweden, sometimes Finland. I would say Finland's part of Scandinavia, but the Finnish may disagree. Interesting. How's Finland not get to be part of Scandinavia? That's not fair to the Finnish. Okay, fair enough. Saying Finland is in Scandinavia is actually controversial. Ooh, am I starting a fight? Scandinavia, part of Northern Europe, generally held to consist of two countries of Scandinavian Peninsula, Norway and Sweden, with the addition of Denmark. Some authorities argue for the inclusion of Finland on geographic and economic grounds, and of Iceland and Faroe Islands on the grounds their inhabitants speak Scandinavian languages. Exciting. Then Finns would say Nordic, not Scandinavia. Fair. I'm starting a fight in Europe. I'm sorry. Sorry for starting a fight in Europe. I apologize, various European people. I didn't mean anything by it. You're all okay with me. Finland has really good drivers. You got Mick Hakkinen. He's good. Am I winning any points? All right, I think I'm going to go ahead and sign off. I really didn't mean this to be as long a stream as it wound up being. It was meant to be more of a quick hit, but then we got lost in ATC land, and then we wound up in a discussion about the finer points of European geography, which is exciting. You want to fight though? You could talk about regions in the United States. That can be a fun fight. Like what is part of the South? And stuff like that bullshit, like what's part of the Mid-Atlantic, what's part of New England, and so forth and so on. So you can get into some interesting fights in the United States too about what states belong to what regions of the United States. So yeah, I understand. We have those fights here too. All right, I guess I'll go ahead and sign off. I might be on later though. I don't know. Missouri is not part of the South. Well, more the point, like, is Texas part of the South is an interesting question because it depends who you ask, right? So it's like Texas part of the South. It's like, I don't know. Yeah. Might be part of the West. Might be part of the, yeah, it's like, you can get into some interesting debates. Is Florida part of the South? Lol. That's the fight I want to pick. Is Florida part of the South? I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not sure they are. Yeah. Is Florida part of the South? Yeah. Florida is Florida? Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Try to convince Missouri and Kansas they're both part of the Midwest. Well, Kansas, I don't know what else it would be part of. Kansas, what else would it be part of yeah, it's like Kansas is in the middle of the country. I mean, come on, it's like your Kansas is literally in the middle of the country. Like what else would you be? Right? The Midwest, yeah. It's like, come on. Yeah. I've never been to Kansas. Could be fun. Later.